Hello, fellow tiny bird parents and aspiring tiny bird parents out there, and welcome to the very first episode of the Itty Bitty Birdcast. I'm your host, Hally, and I am super excited to start this journey with all of you. On today's episode, I will be sharing a bit about myself and how I got into birds in the first place and my experience, and I will be introducing you to my flock. We will also learn a little bit more about their specific species, and finally, I will tell you why I am starting this podcast in the first place. Every episode, I will sit down to discuss thoughts, tips, joys, and of course, the challenges of living life with our tiny feathered friends. I will also be inviting tiny bird parents and other special guests and hopefully experts on the podcast to join me in sharing their real experiences with the world. We are their advocating voices, and they need to be heard. They need us to do it for them. Though they be but tiny, they are most certainly mighty. I quite frankly am tired of being told, but Hally, it's just a bird. These little guys, when cared for properly, often take up a huge part of not just our hearts, but our lives too. It's an entire lifestyle change to become a bird parent. I'm here to bust myths about tiny birds as pets, including tiny parrots such as lovebirds, linealated parakeets, also known as linneys, parrotlets, budgies, and even larger parrots but still small, including cockatiels and conures, and of course, tiny passerines such as canaries and finches. My goal is to provide a platform where tiny bird parents can come together as a community to raise awareness for our itty bitty feather babies while also learning more about them in general. Let's learn and educate others together as we strive to create happier and healthier homes for these amazing little creatures. Now, who am I, you might ask? I am a proud tiny bird mom to a Pacific parrotlet and a red factor canary. I've decided it's time for me to share what I've learned to hopefully make a difference in the care and keeping of tiny birds around the globe and to help educate the humans who adore them as much as I do. It's time to meet the flock. A few years ago, in September of 2022, our canary landed in the backyard of our previous apartment, and my life changed forever. Dude, what you eating? I knew nothing about birds and was grasping for any resources I could find to give her the best possible life. I grew up with dogs, basset hounds if we're being specific, and let me just say the care requirements for a hound dog simply did not add up to what is required to be a successful bird parent. The internet can sometimes be very useful, but I also found many conflicting ideas and opinions, including websites that presented everything as concrete facts when that was not necessarily true. For example, many websites stated that mirrors are good for canaries when I have since learned that that is far from the truth. Mirrors can actually make canaries, and all birds for that matter, think that there is a mate in the space or in their cage that they cannot physically reach, and it can not only make them super hormonal, but it can also cause significant psychological distress. I noticed that firsthand with Ollie, and I quickly corrected my mistake once I dove deeper into the research. We all make those mistakes in the beginning, and that's okay as long as we are continuing to research and want to do better and to actually do better. It can feel a bit daunting to weed out the harmful or incorrect information, and my best advice would be to ask others. I know the more forums you go on and Facebook pages, the more you're going to get differing information. And I actually just had a discussion with a bird mom friend of mine recently about this and how she was feeling really stressed and overwhelmed at the differing opinions, and she didn't know what was right. And ultimately, she had to go with her gut. So I say, get as many opinions as possible from other bird parents as well as your avian vet. And then after that, it's up to you to use your best judgment as a bird parent with the knowledge that you have available to you. Going back to Ollie, at the end of September 2022, we discovered a fluorescent orange bird in our backyard. She consistently appeared in our yard for about a week before my husband and I thought to snap a photo and post her on a local missing pet Facebook page. Again, we knew nothing about birds, and I did not even realize that she was not a wild bird. My husband kept warning me that she was probably a baby cardinal and we should leave her be and let the parents find her because she probably fell out of her nest. I remember laughing at him and telling him, I may not know much about birds, however, I do know that she is the color of a traffic cone, so I'm pretty sure she's not a cardinal. I was right. When we finally posted her on the Facebook groups, we discovered quite quickly that she was in fact a red factor canary and was most definitely a lost or abandoned pet. So I had to go to work and I knew that she was still in our backyard, so I quickly texted some family members. My uncle, cousin, and mother came to the rescue. They band together while I had to run off to work and they purchased a tiny cheap cage from Walmart and whatever bird seed they had in stock. They left the cage open and she hopped right in because she was starving. Who knows how long she had been out there fending for herself. I do know she even survived a severe thunderstorm in the time that we had seen her in our backyard. We searched for months for her owners, and when they never came forward, we decided to adopt her and dive headfirst into the research so that we could provide the best possible home for our beautiful girl. A million vet bills later, due to all of the health issues she came with, and we felt we had gained quite a bit of experience in the bird parent department, as well as the way avian medicine tends to operate amongst tiny birds in particular. But that is a story for another day. Now, Ollie is not hand tame and seems to get stressed out by a camera in her face, or hands in her face for that matter, so she will not be making many live appearances on the podcast in order to keep her happy and healthy. I get this question a lot on my Instagram as to why I don't post her as much as I post Kermit. Kermit is a bit of a ham for the camera. Ollie gets visibly stressed out with the camera in her face, and it's more important that she remains happy and healthy than posting her on social media. And that's just my personal opinion. She also has special needs due to her health condition. The vet and I have discovered that she most likely has a thyroid condition, which sparks seizures. And we think she's hypocalcemic and also has improper molting due to the thyroid condition. So she does not look and act like a typical canary. We do our best to keep her comfortable, and we are always monitoring her quality of life so we know when it's time, and hopefully not for a long time. She is approximately 4 years old, as we know she was hatched sometime in 2022 before we found her in September of 2022, and she is a confirmed female. You will still see clips of her from time to time, and I am always ready and eager to talk about my little orange cheese pup, as we so affectionately call her. Ollie, though she cannot speak like many parrots, is incredibly intelligent, which is something that a lot of people don't know about canaries. She often alerts us with different sounds and squawks when she's trying to get our attention or needs something or wants something. She's quite bossy. She loves to boss us around, and we refer to her as the queen of our home. She has the most beautiful singing voice, and it is a myth that female canaries can't sing. Many of them simply chirp, which is where I think that idea comes from, while the males are known for their elaborate and complex sounds that we call canary songs. Ollie, however, can sing while using a variety of complex sounds. It may not be as complex as a male canary song, but it is beautiful nonetheless, even though I am a bit biased as her mom.
That's beautiful.
Fun fact, it is common for canaries to stop singing during their molt, which is usually in the summer months. But again, Ollie doesn't have a proper molting schedule due to her thyroid condition. Ollie is very much the alpha between the two of them. However, our avian exotic vet warned us that it's best not to let them out at the same time. Kermit has a much stronger beak because he has a hook bill and could seriously hurt her or worse if we aren't careful. And she has a soft bill as a canary, so she can't defend herself in the way that many parrots could. They typically get separate out of cage time. However, they do come out together once or twice a week for a brief period of time when I'm able to be there and to be extra alert and to hover right over them should I need to intervene. Lately, they have been respecting each other's space and getting a little better at that, but occasionally Kermit will try to sneak up on her and nibble on her leg. I immediately have to break it up and separate them, but I do appreciate the enrichment time that they get when they're out together in a way that they wouldn't get when they're out separately, but most of the time they do come out separately for safety reasons. Unfortunately, both canaries and parrotlets are known for not getting along well with other birds, especially those of different species. They can both be bullies and it needs to be taken seriously. However, each bird is an individual and they will all have individual characteristics and personalities, but it is something to keep in mind if you happen to be mixing those kinds of species. Now, onto the spokesbird of the podcast. Once we became bird obsessed thanks to Ollie Girl, I decided I wanted to get into parrot ownership. I prefer to call it parrot parenting, or some call it parenting, like parrot and parent mixed together, because I don't think it's fair to say that we own an animal that should never have been brought into captivity in the first place. After a few months with Ollie, I started researching the best type of tiny parrot for apartment living, one that is quiet and calm and fairly easy to take care of. And newsflash, I quickly found out that there is no such thing as an easy or quiet or calm bird, particularly when it comes to parrots. I landed on getting a Pacific parrotlet, and he is by no means quiet or easy or calm, but he is the love of my life and my best friend, and I don't regret any of it. However, I do not recommend birds for most people. Stay tuned for future episodes to find out why. In January of 2023, a beautiful turquoise marble pied parrotlet was hatched, and in March of that same year, he came home to me, and the rest is history. Here you go. Hi, buddy. I know, this is very confusing. Hi, honey. Hi, Kermit. Welcome home. We named him Kermit as an ode to Kermit the Frog's song, The Rainbow Connection, as we felt he was our rainbow birdie after the sudden loss of a parrotlet we only had for 2 days. We discovered it was most likely due to improper breeding, and I learned the hard way how important it is to really do your research when choosing an ethical breeder if you are going to go that route. Going forward, I would prefer to adopt over shop, but looking back, I will advise that you make sure you are using an ethical breeder that has a lot of reviews or people you can ask if you feel you absolutely have to go the route of buying one over adopting. Kermit is a 3-year-old Pacific parrotlet. He is an excellent talker. However, just like all parrot species, not all parrotlets can or will talk. The males typically with parrotlets will talk more than the females, but it is never a guarantee, and I always like to advise people who are thinking about getting a bird to please reconsider if they are only looking to add one to their home for their potential talking abilities, because that's just not the reason to bring one home. You'll be disappointed. That being said, Kermit has a very large vocabulary. He came to us at 2 months old and probably started saying his first words around 3 to 4 months old. He learned his first words by watching Kool-Aid the Parrotlet on YouTube, but quickly started picking up new words and phrases from us talking to him and to each other around the home. He now sings full songs, such as the one I made up called Kermit the Parrotlet, to the tune of Karma Chameleon. So it goes, Kermit, 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 Kermit the Parrotlet. And he's got the Kermit, Kermit part down. And his favorite thing to do lately, for some reason, is to imitate us when we cough or sneeze. He typically doesn't talk on command, but occasionally will blow raspberries, like so. You do. Good job, good raspberry. I love the wings. You do. Good job. I love the wings. And count to 3 and shout peekaboo with me when I prompt him to do so. 1, 2, 3. Peekaboo. Good boy. Good 3. Peekaboo. You say 1, 2, 3. Peekaboo! My good boy. 1, 2, 3. Peekaboo! You're in a happy mood. Peekaboo! Mwah! Now, let's learn about canaries. Canaries are not classified as members of the parrot family, contrary to popular belief. Ollie is considered a passerine, just like finches. Passerines are also known as songbirds or perching birds due to their unique structure of their feet and toes. Canaries have a nisodactyl feet, which is the most common foot structure amongst birds. This means that she has 3 toes that point forward and 1 that points back. It makes it ideal for perching. Canaries can't climb the way that parrots can, and you'll notice that they hop when they move. Canaries are native to the Canary Islands as well as the Azores and Madeira Islands, all of which are archipelagos in the mid-Atlantic. There are over approximately 200 breeds of canaries due to the way in which they are bred. They are most often bred for color, song, and form. The ones you typically see in the pet store are referred to as common canaries. Canaries are often considered to be more hands-off than many parrot species. However, they do recognize their owners, or parents as I like to call them. They're incredibly intelligent. That being said, it is possible to hand tame a canary. It's just difficult, in my opinion, but I do know some bird moms out there with hand tamed canaries. The average length for a canary is approximately 5.5 inches long, and their weight ranges from 15 to 25 grams, give or take, and part of that is due in part to the breeding of canaries. For example, red factors like Ollie tend to be a bit larger. Ollie weighs 24 grams. Red factors were originally developed through a hybrid between the red siskin finch and the domestic yellow canary. The average lifespan for a canary is approximately 10 to 12 years. On to Pacific parrotlets. Parrotlets are considered to be the smallest species of parrot in captivity. They range from about 3.5 to 5 inches in length and are smaller than budgies, also commonly known as parakeets, like the ones you often see in chain pet stores, which I don't recommend. Parrotlet parents are very used to people confusing their birds for budgies, but if you look at them side by side, you'll see there's a significant difference in size and facial features. There are approximately 19 species of parrotlets. However, only 2 exist in the USA, the Pacific and the green-rumped, which are a bit smaller than the Pacific parrotlet. Pacific parrotlets are the most commonly found in this country. Pacific parrotlets are color dimorphic, which means you can tell the gender just by looking at the feathers. Male Pacific parrotlets will have cobalt blue wing feathers in their wing pit area along the edges. Females will not have the cobalt blue feathers. Contrary to popular belief, both males and females can have what's called the blue eyeshadow and blue rump. Parrotlets, along with all parrots, have what is called zygodactyl feet. This means they have 2 toes that point forward and 2 that point back. This allows them to manipulate objects similar to the way humans use their hands. It's common to see parrots holding toys and food with their feet. They're also able to use their feet to climb around on cage bars and other objects in their environment in the wild, such as trees. Feet structure is what gives parrots that classic waddle, too, when they walk. Their weight can range anywhere from 25 to 40 grams. Just like people, some are bigger and some are smaller. Kermit is a nice chunky boy at 34 grams, which is perfectly healthy and normal, but he is on the bigger side, and it has to do with the way he was bred. The average lifespan for a parrotlet is 15 to 20 years. So why am I bringing you this podcast? Well, first of all, my tiny birds are my why. They are the reason behind it all, and I would not be who I am today without them. When I am not working my full-time job as a board-certified music therapist and soon-to-be licensed creative arts therapist in New York State, I am eating, sleeping, and thinking about birds. I volunteer with the local parrot club when I have time to try to educate the general public about the proper care and keeping of our avian friends. I soak up as much information as I can on birds through social media, outreach events, research studies, other incredible bird-related podcasts, and so on. However, I have found that there just isn't a lot out there in terms of tiny birds, especially passerines such as canaries and finches. While I love parrots and birds for that matter of all shapes and sizes, I feel that there is a need for more education and resources regarding tiny parrots and passerines. I speak from experience in saying that even vet medicine can be challenging and confusing when dealing with birds of such a small size. It's often hard to diagnose them when something goes wrong due to their small size, placing limitations on the tests that can even be run. I have found the most useful information when it comes to caring for my tiny feather babies is through talking to other tiny bird parents and hearing their personal experiences. After years of researching how to be the best tiny bird mama, I have found that the learning never stops. I am still researching and I'm 3.5 or 4 years in. But I've also found that many people do not even put the effort in to do the research. This creates a cycle of neglect that has to be stopped. Tiny birds are challenging pets with complex emotional, social, and physical needs. I'm here to share my story as a bird mom while also providing a voice for all the tiny pet birds out there and their humans. I am eager to come together on this platform and finally have the big conversations our tiny birds deserve. That's all for our very first episode of the Itty Bitty Birdcast. Thank you to all those who tuned in to watch and or listen, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share so we can make the world a better place for our itty bitty friends. Feel free to follow Kermit and Ollie's journey on Instagram and stay up to date on our podcast. Their handle is @Adventures of Kermit and Ollie with a period in between each word. That's all for now. Bye, bird friends.
Bake 'em pancakes, make 'em bake 'em pancakes. Bake 'em pancakes, make 'em bake 'em pancakes. Bacon, 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 bacon. Bacon, 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 bacon.